Donald Trump has once again confessed about something else he did at his Florida residence. Today, Donald Trump put his confession in the documents case in writing and, in effect, addressed it to his new special prosecutor, Jack Smith, who he referred to as this fully weaponized monster, Jack Smith. Those were Donald Trump's words. In the written statement, Donald Trump addressed both cases that Jack Smith is now supervising, saying, "I did nothing wrong on January 6th. Jack Smith is now the special counsel supervising the Justice Department's investigation of Donald Trump's possible criminal conduct on January 6th and Donald Trump's possible criminal conduct in possessing government documents, including classified documents, at his Florida residence." In his written confession today, Donald Trump actually said, "When will you invade the other presidents' homes in search of documents which are voluminous, which they took with them, but not nearly so openly and transparently as I did?" And there it is. I did. Meaning, I did commit the crime of taking government documents with me, and I did commit the crime of refusing to hand over those government documents and lying about their existence when they were subpoenaed. That's what Donald Trump put in writing today. I did. Attorney General Merrick Garland, in his statement appointing Jack Smith as special counsel, insisted that there would be no delay in the investigations that Jack Smith is now supervising. And Jack Smith, in his written statement accepting the appointment, also promised no delay. And so far, all the public evidence indicates there has been absolutely no delay whatsoever. With the appeals court argument last week in the 11th Circuit, Court of Appeals going on as scheduled and going very favorably for Jack Smith's team. Every question asked by the appeals court judges indicated that they are ready to agree with the Justice Department's appeal to remove the special master from the case, who was appointed by a Florida federal judge, who might also be removed from the case by the appeals court. And on Thanksgiving Day, Jack Smith filed a short pleading with the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals insisting that a point made by Donald Trump's lawyers was demonstrably wrong. In Donald Trump's attack today on Jack Smith, Donald Trump helpfully included an introduction for our first guest tonight. Donald Trump wrote, "Jack Smith is nothing less than a hitman for Obama, his Attorney General Eric Holder, and Andrew Weissmann." And joining us now is Andrew Weissmann, former FBI General Counsel and former Chief of the Criminal Division in the Eastern District of New York. He's Professor of Practice at NYU Law School and an MSNBC legal analyst. And also joining us is Mary McCord, former Acting Assistant Attorney General at the Justice Department. She supervised the counterintelligence unit that has been leading the Trump documents investigation. Andrew Weissmann, so there's Donald Trump attacking Jack Smith, about whom he obviously knows nothing. And of course, also attacking you, about whom at least he knows what you say on this program and that you were part of the Mueller investigation investigating his conduct at the time. What do you make of Donald Trump's written statement today?
Well, with Donald Trump, one of the things that you have learned through history and you know as a prosecutor is all of this is never about the actual facts. It is always about invective and adjectives and media spin. If you are his defense lawyer, you're having palpitations because of some of that media spin that he engages in. So the statement that you read from at the outset of the program completely belies the defense of the documents were planted, since he's saying, no, I openly and notoriously took them there. It's, to me, though, it is still consistent with his latest defense, the defense du jour, which is he seems to be saying, oh, I openly and notoriously took these documents, but I always believed they were my personal documents, that the mere act of taking them from the White House sort of magically transmogrified them to being my personal documents. That is belied by the fact that, of course, he didn't have that power, and he has said inconsistent things with that latest defense, as has his lawyer, where they agreed that these were documents that belonged to the archives. So again, I think it's really important to remember this is just not at all about the actual facts. It is really Donald Trump engaging in media relations, and it's going to hurt him at trial.
Mary McCord, I want to get your reaction to the Jack Smith appointment to a job that prior to his appointment, no one was actually doing. No, there wasn't one person at the Justice Department whose full-time job was overseeing both of the investigations in which Donald Trump could potentially become a criminal defendant. And now there is someone overseeing both of them. In the documents case, do you see any indication that there has been any kind of slowdown at all? That's the case in which we have seen some public filings anyway. There's no real public movement on the January 6th investigation that we can be clear about. But have you seen any indication of a slowdown because of Jack Smith? And do you see any reason for there to be any kind of slowdown because of the appointment of the special counsel?
I really don't. I haven't seen it. I mean, sort of famously already at this point, Jack Smith put his name on a filing on Thanksgiving Day. Now, granted, he's in the Netherlands and they don't celebrate it there, but he's an American. And so what one might have expected, he'd be indulging in some turkey and stuffing. But, he jumped right in on this. I don't think Jack Smith, he made a statement, there will be no delay under his watch. And I think we can take him at his word. I mean, he knows the eyes of this country and really the world are on him, and he can't afford for there to be any delay. By the way, he's convalescing after an injury, so he's got all the time in the world to read up on every possible thing he needs to read up on to be fully briefed in this, and I expect that's exactly what he's doing. And
so, as an expert in these kinds of cases, Mary McCord, the Trump defense of, I thought they were mine, how would that defense work? And let's just leave aside for the moment what we already know, which is there were lawyers, more than one, serious lawyers, telling him that he cannot do that they do not belong to him, that he has a legal obligation to return those documents, give them to the National Archives. Let's pretend that testimony doesn't exist, which could obviously knock down that defense. Is there a kind of Pollyanna defense like that available to someone, especially to the president, at the time, saying, I was president, I thought they were mine?
So, I think that if there hadn't been many months and months and months of back and forth of the National Archives saying, we think you have presidential records, him delaying, finally delivering a number of boxes, them still not being, a fulsome return of the documents, a subpoena being issued, more documents produced, a certification or a declaration that was all the documents that were in his custody, signed certification, and finally the search warrant. If we hadn't had all of that, he might have said, in the chaos of moving, I didn't realize they were all there. Now, I know that's different than your suggestion. Your suggestion is, could he plausibly say, I know these were mine? I'm just saying there might have been some other thing he could have plausibly said, but I don't think he can say that anymore. And to say, I thought they were mine, isn't really plausible. This is the former president of the United States. He knows that many of these documents are classified. He was briefed every morning, or would have, if he listened to the briefing, been briefed every single morning of his 4 years in office by the intelligence community with a stack of classified information this thick that he knows is not his personal information. So it's not plausible to think that he was entitled to all the materials he took with them. And moreover, his defenses have changed from, and you indicated this in your opening, from they were planted, or maybe it was Andrew, they were planted, to I declassified everything, to they're my personal records. So even if there was a Pollyannish defense, he's really, he's destroyed it with his own changing of stories. And I think he's going to say his defense to what he said today in that Truth Social post will be, oh, no, again, I do everything transparently and openly, which means, of course, it couldn't be anything that I had any knowledge was unlawful. Otherwise, why would I be so transparent? But at some point, that just doesn't hold up anymore.
Kellyanne Conway testified to the January 6th committee today. Let's listen to what the questions she answered from reporters for a few seconds after that testimony.
Did you plead the Fifth?
I did not plead the Fifth at all.
Why did you choose to come here today?
Because I was asked to.
But you said you came here voluntarily, so you were not under subpoena.
I'm not under subpoena.
So, Andrew Weissman, as to Jack Smith's January 6th investigation, there's Kellyanne Conway saying, I didn't plead the Fifth. By the way, we don't know if anything she just said to reporters is true, but she's saying she didn't plead the Fifth and that she went there voluntarily. That's yet another indicator that there may be witnesses like that out there available to discuss their communications with Donald Trump about January 6th, that investigation still has to have some conversations with.
Absolutely. And you can be sure that one of the things that Jack Smith is doing is not just getting his hands around what has been done, but is focusing on what has not been done and needs to be done. And top of that list will be, who are the witnesses who can testify about everything that happened from the moment of the election till January 20th, and frankly, even before and after, but taking that as the key sort of central period, I would suspect that you're going to have a parade of people going into the grand jury. And because Jack was the head of the public integrity section at the department, I think he's going to know that those are people that you may interview, but at the end of the day, if they have important information, they're going to go in the grand jury. And there, it's not going to matter for someone like Kellyanne Conway to say she's doing it voluntarily or not, because she can be given a grand jury subpoena. And that cuts through all of this. Absent somebody asserting, if they could, a valid Fifth Amendment right. But absent that, I would expect to see a slew of people going into the grand jury, certainly in advance of the so-called January 6th indictment. That would be a real necessary prerequisite to bringing that kind of case.
Andrew Weissman and Mary McCord, thank you both very much for starting off our discussions tonight. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.